Ooh, okay, this was one of the best posts I've seen in a long time. I knew, I had the radar that this person was going to delete it soon, and I was right. So I screenshotted everything this guy said. So I have the writing. I'm going to share with you what he shared. This person shared it anonymously in a group. And to be honest, I follow so many expat, FIRE subreddits and stuff like that. FIRE, it stands for financial independence, retire early. I knew he was going to delete it. I just had the feeling. And also, I tried to contact this guy because the information was so good. I was like, hey, I'm into ebooks. If you put this into an ebook, you could make a fortune. But the moderator of the group went and deleted my comment and like blocked or banned me or something for like marketing myself. So yeah, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to take that information and give it away for free. So for those of you who don't know me, I have some new subscribers on my channel. Yay, I'm so excited. My name is Adelle Ramcharan. I am an internet entrepreneur, long time internet entrepreneur. If you go down in the comments, you're going to see people who have been with my channel for more than 10 years. These people have been watching my life. And to be honest, I've had a really extraordinary and strange and magical and amazing life because from a young age, I looked around and I said, this is not going to work for me. I was born into a single parent family. My mother had these alcoholic guys around. We were poor. And the environment was like trying to keep everyone down, keep them in their place. I had abusive and unkind extended family as well. So I was like, I need to change everything. And then I would walk to and fro from school and I would see these little cardboard cookie cutter houses here in Canada with a little backyard, and you eat dinner in your dining room, and directly across from you is your neighbor looking in on you, no privacy. It just looks so boring and gray, and then eventually I saw these more beautiful homes, with skylights and island kitchens and like double garages and trampolines and a big backyard, and I was like, no, I don't want that either. I saw the 9 to 5 jobs with the retirement packages and the health insurance, and I was just like, this is not going to work for me. And even though, I'm an introvert, I was so shy when I was younger. I couldn't even make eye contact to talk with people. I heard the word entrepreneur. I just knew that was for me. And I was so shy. I did not want to put myself out there, but there was this voice, this inner calling inside of me that was just like, do it now! And so I pushed myself, I jumped, I took the step, and things worked out. And then, I eventually started thinking about, I don't want to be living in Canada anymore. I lived in Calgary for, the past couple of years before I came to Mexico. I've been in Mexico for almost 3 years now. And, there are so many things I loved about Calgary, like riding my bike. I would ride my bike at nighttime. I had all these lights on it. I had a cute, affordable apartment in Mount Royal. So it was like a beautiful neighborhood with big old trees towering overhead, quiet. For $800, guys, apparently this is unheard of now. Smoke and mosquitoes in summer, and then like more than 6 months of winter. It's just too much. It was too much. And I said, I need to go live in a hot country. And then when I heard that there's like, cheap rent in Mexico, there's people living here, so many great opportunities, I was like, I know how to work online. I'm going to do it. And that, of course, was propelled by my divorce. I was living my dream life in Montana on a farm, being a farmer's wife. It's still an ideal that I haven't been able to let go of, but, this is something you're going to need to think about when you come to Mexico, okay? What are your deal breakers? I have lived in multiple different situations here in Mexico. That's not my style, you know. Even traveling and living in Mexico is not my style. You know, there's some girls that I met here, some Canadian girls whose support has just been, they've come through for me in the difficult times. You know what I mean? But these are the girls who are like, yeah, I love traveling. I want to explore. I want to see all the different towns. I love learning the language and trying the food. And me, I'm like, girl, no. Like, I'm the girl who's going to order the steak and the salad. I'm the chicken tenders girl. You know, I don't like trying new things. I have allergies. I don't like traveling just for the sake of seeing new things. Like, no, I just want a quiet, cute, nice place where I can stay and like be a little domestic goddess. Anyway, so I have lived in a studio apartment in a great location for $250. This place you guys recently saw me at, this was a beautifully built two-story home in the country with a gigantic backyard filled with, you know, butterflies, birds, fireflies at night, a place for my cat to run. Again, deal breakers. And this was $250 a month, okay? But there were deal breakers. You may not be aware of all the opportunities that are available to you, so I'm going to talk about this guy's post and tell you everything he did.
Okay, so what I had done was copy the text and pasted it into a status on my own Facebook and included the picture that had come with the post. So I'm going to read that out to you here, the whole thing in total. But there's two things that I want you to watch for when you're listening, okay? So the first is many people are dying to know what's the name and location of this hotel that he's talking about. It was never revealed. However, that brings us to the second thing I want you to watch for, which is how did he get this deal? Okay, so he goes on and on about this deal. Is this deal available for us and how do we get it, right? So this is never actually revealed. However, what happened was I watched the post and there was a woman who went and commented exactly how he did this. She figured it out. She knew it and he had liked her comment. So it was revealed. And if you don't figure it out, don't worry, I'll share it with you. Make sure you watch till the very end of this video. If you are excited to find out what's going on here and maybe take advantage of this for yourself, please go ahead. Remember to click like on this channel, subscribe. It makes a big difference. Now, without further ado, let's get into the details. I'm going to share this to provide an example of an alternative lifestyle that I've lived rather inexpensively here in Mexico. I'm a life and travel hacking expert. This is why for the past 4 years, I've been living in a suite, separate bedroom and living room of a major hotel chain for $15 USD a day when all is said and done, which comes to $450 USD a month. FYI, the going cash rate is about $100 USD a day otherwise. A big buffet breakfast used to be included in the rate, and in fact, I had 2 people partaking on many occasions. But from 2023, I have a copay of $7 USD per day with tip included, which comes to $210 USD a month. FYI, the going cash rate for the buffet breakfast with tip is otherwise about $20 USD nowadays. I practice intermittent fasting, so I adapted to my situation by eating a huge breakfast with dishes fit for dinner close to noon. It is my main meal of the day that also serves as my lunch. On most days, my only other meal is light dinner. Usually it is something I buy from Chedraui, while at other times I go out for some tacos, place an order with an Uber Eats type app, or go to a Mercado Publico. The cost varies, but I would guesstimate I spend at least $300 USD extra a month. Although there were exceptional months when I'd eat a few kilograms of fresh blueberries at $10 USD each, eat out more often, etc. Years ago, I'd occasionally order even hotel room service, but with prices being what they are nowadays, it makes 0 sense. For example, the hotel currently charges $30 for 3 tacos. The same applies to nearby restaurants suddenly charging US prices. I used to buy my water, but during a time I didn't have a car, I started relying on 2 complimentary bottles per day that the hotel gives me. And I would use these complimentary water bottles in the hotel gym when necessary. hardly even drink any alcohol or soft drinks, but I would enjoy a $1 mojito or two at the nearby Cerveceria Chapultepec while it was still open. Let's say I spend $20 a month. I don't have to spend anything on the gym, swimming, maintenance, cleaning, washing towels and bedding, toilet paper, etc. either. And I have no electricity, internet, or other bills. Currently, my only other notable monthly expenses include $12 USD a month for 3 gigabytes of Telcel prepaid cell phone service, and about the same to have my clothes washed. So combined, it comes to $25 USD a month. I prefer to wash some of my clothes by hand so it doesn't get lost or stolen. Recently, I shaved my head, so I no longer spend money in hair salons. The shampoo, soap, body lotion, paper tissue, toilet paper are all provided by the hotel. So basically, I just have to buy a new toothbrush and a razor blade every month, and a new toothpaste once every month. So let's put $5 to this category. I don't have to buy any furniture, appliances, towels, bedding, pots and pans, cleaning supplies, etc. It sucks that I cannot cook, but I do have a microwave, a small fridge, and a coffee machine, with coffee and tea provided to make my life more livable. As I do have 2 plates, bowls, and such in my suite for convenience, all this provides a lot of value at zero extra cost to me. To sum it up, my baseline lifestyle costs me about $1,000 USD per month, which more than meets the qualifying criteria for this group. I generally walk everywhere, even if it is an hour away, and not because I want to save $1 on a round trip with collectivos. I consider it part of maintaining my health. But truth be said, my hotel is in great central location with just about everything nearby. The only downside is that there is hardly anything inexpensive around, as it is usually the case with nice hotels. I used to have my US plated Mercedes-Benz, which dramatically increased my cost of living, but also served as a great tool to help me learn about the realities of life in Mexico. But this is not a group to talk about it. And truth be told, I didn't really need the car in the city. I used it to explore much of Mexico. This, of course, dramatically increased my expenses whenever I traveled, despite my travel hacking expertise. But that is a different topic. It is worth noting, though, that during any longer trip, I had zero expenses at my usual home hotel, though, which did somewhat balance out my overall cost of living. In any case, I consider Mexico to be an expensive country for long-distance road trips due to relatively expensive gas and more so toll roads. And car ownership is a royal pain in the rear whenever something goes wrong. So I'd avoid it if possible. I haven't mentioned earlier that my fixed US costs for a private mailbox and a small air-conditioned storage unit run at $110 USD a month. And sending anything to my address in Mexico has proven to be ridiculously expensive and otherwise problematic. But when I prorate the expense per month, it isn't that much, because I do my best to avoid the need for it. For a period of time, I was also paying about $30 USD a month for a storage unit in Mexico where I kept most of my stuff during longer trips. But I no longer have it. Unfortunately, flying in and out of the city where I live isn't that cheap or convenient either, largely thanks to few options and the fact that a $30 USD Uber or taxi drive each way can rarely be avoided. I'm a healthy 50-year-old that chooses not to maintain any health insurance. Or in other words, I consider myself to be self-insured. I have a few local doctor friends that can advise me when needed, yet I still opted for a bunch of free or inexpensive consultations or procedures done by different pharmacy doctors over the years. And I bought all sorts of medicines. Several times I also chose to see a specialist in their private practice, had all sorts of tests done in labs like Salud Digna, or bought various herbal remedies, vitamins, and so on, both locally and from the US, and even elected to have 2 medical procedures done under full anesthesia. I think that talking about the cost of this is too individual, though, to be considered meaningful for others, but I could guesstimate that my prorated cost hasn't been much over $100 a month during this 4-year period. I don't know if people consider the expenses of maintaining legal residence in their reported budgets. Okay, so at this point, I'm realizing the reading is going to take a very long time. So I'm just going to let it scroll on the screen for you. If you don't like it, let me know in the comments, but you'll get all the information here anyway, okay?